It's me, Mario!
Hello everyone, I'm Bob-omb
I'm the Flameclaw.
And I'm Richie.
and welcome to the HellfireComms playthrough of Super Mario 64. Never let it be said that HFC has abandoned its age-old mantra of it'll happen eventually, because I would hazard a guess, maybe I'm, stereotyping here, but I would say a lot of LP or playthrough channels tend to cover this game relatively early on in their life cycle, as close to 2 decades in, so, maybe that's a new record. The Olympics are going on right now, maybe we'll at least scratch a silver. Speaking seriously for a moment, this is a wonderful game. I can't overstate its importance to just both platformers and video games in general. I have Wikipedia here. I'm going to do my best to not just read it verbatim and, paraphrase as best I can. Its influence can be felt in tons of things. Obviously, you have Banjo-Kazooie, one of my favourite games, top 5 game, I would say, of all time, and it basically built on what came before. You also have stuff like Kingdom Hearts. Apparently, it helped to inspire the use of 3D environments and exploration throughout that series. And then you have the director and the development team of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Obviously, every time you get a star in Super Mario 64, unless it's like the 100 coin star, more of which in a second, you are brought out the level. So it's essentially mission based, and you can see that with the whole you have 2 minutes to do all these missions and the like. Because it's such an important game, we felt we had to do it right, so this is going to be a 100% run. Thank you, Flame, for recording this for us. I guess I'll hand over to you first. When did you first play Super Mario 64? Did you get it with the console, or did you get it later?
Well, I did get it with the console, but that was a bit later. I remember I'd already played things like, say, Sonic Adventure and whatnot. By the time I played this, I got an N64 pre-owned, and this was one of the games that came with it.
Mm-hmm.
That admittedly made it one of those games that I've been kind of back and forth on where I stand with it, because you have that inherent comparison. But what sticks with me about this game today is that this is a very charming game. It's a game that carries that sense of childlike wonder, and it does kind of bring me back to that a bit. When I just step inside the castle here and we get the Inside the Castle Walls theme playing, it's sort of it's static at that period of time, and I love it for that.
For sure. This was not the first game to use 3D. I honestly couldn't tell you. It would take me 5 minutes. I'll have it in tomorrow, don't worry about it. But it was definitely one of the first for me, and just being able to explore in a 3D environment kind of blew my mind. Obviously, you would also have the likes of Ocarina of Time and, the aforementioned Banjo-Kazooie, but this was just a breakthrough for consoles, and this actually goes back all the way to, I want to say, the original Star Fox. I have the thing here. I'm keeping going. Here we go. Way back in 1993, Miyamoto was working on the original Star Fox, which is known as Star Wing in the UK and Europe, but that's besides the point. And Star Fox used the Super FX graphics chip, which allowed for more processing power. And Miyamoto actually wanted to use said chip to make a game called Super Mario FX, an entire world in miniature, like miniature trains. But they didn't really have any references to work off of for 3D movement, so they just kind of fucked about with it, and they essentially reached the conclusion we know as Super Mario 64. Richie, when did your experience with Super Mario 64 come into being?
Well, after it's probably one that's surprisingly common, but not necessarily well talked about in the sort of gaming sphere, which is that my first time actually ever really properly experiencing Super Mario 64 and playing Super Mario 64 was the DS version, and when the DS launched, because I was sort of just that bit too young, really, when the original came out.
Yeah.
Like, my first proper consoles were the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube and so on. So I was technically just after this era of gaming, but I sort of always knew of the power and the impact that Mario 64 had on gaming. Like, it's one of those things where you know anything about gaming, you know at least something about this game and how integral it is to sort of everything that has followed, pretty much.
Yeah.
So obviously when the DS version came out, I was straight on that, because it was like, great, this is a chance to actually get to play this really iconic title. And while obviously people have a lot of thoughts and opinions about the DS remake, honestly, it's a really decent representation of the game, and sort of did make it that bit more accessible to audiences that either could have only done it through emulation or on original hardware. Obviously, we're now at a point where there was the All-Stars collection, even though that's no longer available, because, you know, great decision-making, Nintendo.
Yeah.
But also, emulation's a hell of a lot easier now than it ever was, and there is the DS version, and so there's been a much more of an opportunity to play it. And while I would say that things like the Ocarina of Time 3DS remake perhaps improved on the original, the DS version maybe didn't necessarily improve, but it at least gave you access, and so I will always have fond memories of playing that sort of DS version, because yeah, it meant I got to explore this wonderful world.
The thing with the DS version is that I don't know if I could conclusively say that it's either better or worse, but it's a very different experience, because like they obviously brought in the extra characters, there were a lot of extra stars they added in. It's like a much bigger and very ambitious re-release of the game.
Yes.
But that also kind of goes against what I like about this version, because what I like about this is that it very much ignites the childlike wonder. You know, you have a very simple presentation here. You have just Mario goes into all these mysterious and fantastical worlds through the portraits, and it's just him and the world, and your imagination can kind of fill in the blanks there. Whereas I feel like with the DS one, where not only do they have like Mario's got the bigger party, you know, like his friends are there, and there's the more detailed models and graphics and whatnot, it kind of doesn't prompt the imagination quite as much. So like, even though like there are things that you could say are better, and if someone says I prefer the DS version, I fully understand why. This one's the one that connects with me that bit more, you know?
I'm trying really hard to recall when I first played Mario 64, and to be honest, the only memories I have of setting up my N64 was of Diddy Kong Racing, because I specifically remember the TV was only playing in black and white. I guess I just didn't plug the cables in correctly, you know, and you're just showing off at this point, Flame.
Well, he's taking his sweet fucking time. I've got to do something to pad out for him, haven't I?
Fair. Well, at least we got the dry intro out of the way. Now we can phone it in for the rest of the playthrough.
Cooper the Quick here, not the last we'll see of him. He's maybe not one of the most memorable Mario characters, but he's also a big part of the start of this game. You usually jump into Bob-omb Battlefield. I did the Chain Chomp mission first because it's right there, but most people will just like go up to the summit and fight Big Bob-omb, and then you go back into the level and it's like, oh, I can do something else here. And that's kind of like the design philosophy for this game. Compared to like, say, 2D Mario, the games on the NES and Super Nintendo before this, they would have like a very linear level design. Basic Mario goes from left to right. Given this was like very early 3D and it's on the N64, and designing that many unique levels would have taken up like a lot more space than they probably had on an N64 cart, so they had to get a bit creative. Some people may just see this as reusing assets. I see it as them getting more mileage out of what they've got, and the worlds are designed with it in mind. So we've done a couple of missions here, but there's still parts of this level that we haven't really explored yet. So the mission-based system to get each star, I feel like kind of is complemented by the level design.
And obviously, the whole thing is that you are exploring these wonderful worlds, and you can, not always, but you can pretty much get a lot of the stars in any of the missions. Obviously, there are certain ones where you specifically need to go into it to activate things.
Yeah, or you need a cap.
Yeah. But it's nice to sort of be able to do things in sort of random orders and sort of have that freedom. And I suppose it something that I've always loved with video games and sort of looking at the history of video games is seeing the evolution of things. And I mean, obviously, a prime example is seeing you can pretty much track all of the progression from Mario 64 all the way to Odyssey. And you can see where they made improvements, where they tweaked things, where they found sort of better flows or different flows, and how they iterated and just kept sort of expanding and getting better. Because, I mean, one of the things, I think a lot of people will say that Super Mario 64 is a great game, but it certainly is on the more simplistic side to what we are used to nowadays.
If I was cynical, I could call it a tech demo, but I understand what you mean.
And it does show its age, like, let's be real here. But it's still, you can see that sort of trajectory. And then you've got the sort of direct comparison to obviously Sonic's jump to 3D and his sort of more chaotic journey, shall we say, over the years.
Sonic Adventure received good reviews on launch, okay? He did not have a rough transition to 3D.
I'm not saying he had a rough transition, I'm saying he's had a chaotic time sort of through the years.
Ooh, your variants were saying it though, in other universes you were implying it heavily.
I don't know, I will say I'm genuinely proud of us for getting nearly 12 minutes in before having this argument. Like, we did well today.
But yeah, it's that whole thing of sort of Sega's and Sonic Team's approach seems to have been more of the try a thing, oh, it's not working, we'll try something completely different. And so they haven't necessarily iterated. The sort of one time that they sort of properly did that for a long span of time was the Boost era. We'll see how things sort of go from where we are at the minute, because it did seem like they are shifting to hopefully more that style of design, but it's cool to see sort of where things began for 3D Mario, and that's just a really awesome thing to be able to experience.
But to be fair, like, I kind of get where you're coming from with the like Sonic comparison there, because like the thing that has always stuck with me, the reason why for the most part I tend to lean more towards Sonic than Mario, even though I do like Mario, is that Mario on the whole is much more consistent.
Yes.
Sonic has a way of, it becomes a more interesting talking point, the fact that the games are so radically different from one to another. And you can argue like whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like it kind of does show the difference in design philosophies between the two franchises.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could also argue, like, in terms of quality, I think Sonic being more inconsistent is just more interesting, because every Mario game you pick up, you know it's going to play perfect. Sunshine may be aside in certain areas, but even then it's still bugginess, notwithstanding, still a well-made game. With Sonic, after a certain point, they're just kind of rolling the dice, and I find that more interesting. That's about the limit of what I'm going to go into in terms of Mario versus Sonic, because this really is Mario's time to shine here, and this is one of my favourite levels in the game, Whomp's Fortress. So iconic, they brought it back in Super Mario Galaxy 2 as the Throwback Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and I remember that getting a pretty meaty remix as well. That's one thing that we can talk about here up front. I can say this game's soundtrack is beautiful.
Yep.
You get some really good punchy themes like we're hearing right now. When it wants to get a bit more ambient and a bit softer, that works too. These themes get reused time and time again for a reason.
Oh yeah. This is one of Koji Kondo's best soundtracks, I would say.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it is just utterly iconic. And I mean, to be fair, even most of the levels are incredibly iconic. Like, it's been a very, 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 very long time since I played the DS version, but I could still probably go through and name pretty much all of the levels, or at least sort of be able to go, there's this level, I can't remember its name, but I can describe it to you.
Okay, I'm going to need you to name them off. Mario 64 levels. I'm just getting this here.
Oh god, that was could probably do it, not going to.
Okay, you don't have to do it in order, you just have to name them. Go ahead.
Okay, well obviously Bob-omb Battlefield, Whomp's Fortress, obviously. There is Jolly Roger Bay.
Yep.
There is Cool Cool Mountain.
Yep.
There is the it's Tick-Tock Clock, isn't it?
No, that's way down the line.
I know that's way down the line. I did say I was going to go in order.
I know, fair enough.
And then I think it's Rainbow Ride.
Yep.
And then there is... Oh god. The Little Big One.
Yeah, I'm just reading it here. Little Big One.
Yeah, I mean, the real name's not that far off of that.
It's not far.
It's Tiny Huge Island, but I get
That's
it. And the rest of them are Big Boo's Haunt, Hazy Maze Cave, Lethal Lava Land, Shifting Sand Land, Dire Docks, Snowman's Land, Wet Dry World, and Tall Mountain.
The lesson here today is Richie needs to read the Discord because I posted the level list in it shortly before we started.
I mean, I was thinking that I could have been, I could have cheated because I have the video list up, and also you posted that, but I just thought, I'll try and actually do it for, rather than reading things as is my standard approach to most things.
It's appreciated, mate. That hidden one-up, by the way, you would be surprised how many people I've seen, through streams and the like, who don't know about that.
I mean, to be fair, I definitely didn't know that was there, but as I said, very long time, and to be honest, I don't think I would have necessarily cared too much, because you get enough one-ups across the game that particular one, not necessarily needed, but nice to know that it's there if you do need it.
It's because it's the exact same texture as the non-breakable wall. What a lot of modern games tend to do is there might be either a bit of a crack in it, or it might be a slightly different shade of colour, Whereas this game, they expect you to just aimlessly punch everything until you find a trait.
Oh man, not setting the best example to the kiddies out there. And look, Mario is, collaborating with known war criminals, Pink Bob-omb.
Hey, to be fair, that's not the ones we met actually firing the cannons in Bob-omb Battlefield. He's just, he might as well just be the security guy.
I guess.
Just to be transparent here, when you see me successfully firing the cannons in these videos, assume that it's either take 18 or it was complete fucking accident. I am terrible at aiming these things.
To be fair, I get that they are... It's easy to sort of get what you think is the right angle, and then you just do it and you're just oh no, that was a mess.
I guess this can tie into the next aspect I want to talk about, which is the camera. Again, revolutionary for the time.
Yes.
Giving you the ability to move and, operate the camera at the same time. But because it was one of the first of its kind, if not the first, there comes with that a little bit of jankiness, and
yes.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised. It takes you a little bit of time to get this stuff done, Floam.
I will say, just to let people know what's going on with this run, because there have been so many different videos and playthroughs and whatnot on Mario 64 over the years. Like we said, this is a 120-star run. I will be playing it mostly as intended. There might be the odd cheeky long jump and whatnot here and there, but I'm not going to be doing the backflips through the ceiling and shit that a lot of people do.
Oh.
Because I want it to be obviously it's tool assisted, and I've done a lot of retakes to get a better rundown, but I want this to at least resemble how a standard playthrough of Mario 64 would happen.
That's fair.
Yeah, fair, but, you really shouldn't be so hard on yourselves. You're many things, Flame, but you're not a tool.
I can be if I need to be, okay?
Oh, I think we all can, mate. But what are we doing now? What star are we on? Because I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot.
This would be the red coin star.
Ah.
Yeah, so in every level there is 1 star where you collect the 8 red coins, and that's what gets you the star. Those red coins do also count as standard coins, so if you want to combine the red coins mission with the 100 coins mission, you can do that, but you know, you want to collect the... Like, you want to get the star from the standard coins first, because otherwise it will boot you out.
Right.
For the sake of making it easier to follow, I'm doing each one as its own separate run. But, like, you know, if you do want to streamline your time with Mario 64, you can do that.
I mean, from what I recall, that is pretty much the recommended route for most of the 100 coin stars, because yeah, every level has 100 coin star, and yeah, it is most of them being tied to the red coin stars are your best bet to make it easy.
And just to add on what these two have said, red coins are worth 2, blue I believe are worth 5, so
yes,
very much a good thing to take those into account, and we're talking to an L. Not the first time, or even the last we do that in a Nintendo property.
They do like their owls. Not long ago, I played through Wario Land 2, and like the owl levels in that game are a lot of fun as well. Admittedly, in this one, this is the mission where the camera being a bit of a bitch can hurt you, because you've got to gauge depth perception.
Yes.
Lakitu, with his camera dangling from a string, doesn't like helping you do that.
I will say, that is an inspired choice to have the camera of the game actually be operated by an in-universe character, and there will be various points where you'll come across mirrors so you can see Lakitu behind you. Unless you're playing a mod though, you can't kill him, so don't even try.
No.
But I want to try. This is revenge for that one level in Super Mario Bros. Where he is right in the way on top of the pipe, and fuck you, that took forever to get that no-hit run down.
Oh, Jesus.
And speaking of, I think that is the only actual damage hit I'm going to take in this run, because I couldn't find a way to, like, get a right angle there to not get twatted as I shot the thing at him.
I think the Whomps here were getting a little bit desperate. 1, they put a star in a cage. 2, they just kind of, like, cemented it into the framework of the fortress.
And I have to say, that's probably one of the worst placed stars in terms of if you have to try and figure these things out. The only way that you can tell that that's where that star is by sort of, I think you can hear the little tinkling of it. You can see the seam where the geometry is placed together. And obviously there's only so many directions that you can aim the cannon, and it says blast away the wall, but so there is enough there to give you the clues to figure out how to do it.
What are you complaining about then?
But all of the others I feel are sort of much clearer in terms of what the expectation is.
Let me issue a slight correction. You can see the seams when it's blown up to HD like this.
Yeah, that is true.
When you're playing this on a CRT, you can't see the seams, and so it's anyone's guess what's going on where. Yes, now this is the first of the 100 coins missions that we're showing off. One thing that I'll say, like, admittedly, the idea of just wandering around and collecting coins isn't exactly the most inspired mission design, but it does give you a good excuse to, like, go and explore the bits of the level that the other missions didn't encourage you to go and explore. So, like, obviously on a replay level, it hasn't got that same appeal, but I do understand what they're going for here. Like, it lets you fully appreciate the rest of the level design that they put together.
Exactly, yeah.
And I suppose the sort of the additional side of it is, one, you've got that side of it going, it's a way of exploring the entire thing. The other side of it is it's testing your knowledge of the level that you have been exploring to go, have you figured out where all the possible coins are, and can you get to them in one go?
There are little benefits here. Like, you can streamline your run of this by like remembering where the blue coins are, which obviously cuts down the time it takes. So like, I can appreciate that there are levels to this on top of just wander around finding shiny thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they are pretty much consistently my least favourite kind of missions in Super Mario 64, and to be fair, it's the same in Sunshine. Like, just collect all the coins is probably the ones that are the most tedious and the most boring for most people, I would suspect. But you can see what they were thinking of when they sort of came up with the idea.
And also to stress that, like, these are pretty much optional as well. So, like, if you are just going for, like, I want to punch Bowser in the face right now, you can do that without ever having to worry about these levels. And that is something that I think is also just a strong point in this level, because, like, there's a lot of different kinds of missions here. Everyone's going to have their favourites and least favourites. And the fact that you can go and pick and choose what you do, and also if you've like unlocked a few stars and you maybe want a bit of changing environment, you can just go to one of the other worlds and come back later and do this. It's very free and open as to what you can do here.
Sadly, these are the only stars that will allow you to keep playing should you collect them. Come Banjo-Kazooie, though, that was basically the whole game, baby. And oh, look at this, the rays of heaven. Ah!
Don't try this at home, but this is how you unlock the wing cap. You look directly into the sun, knock your eyesight out for the rest of your life, and you can fly around here for a bonus 8-coin mission.
Let's not, you know, give it credit where it doesn't deserve it. This isn't flying, this is gliding.
This is hoping for the best, because coordinating the camera with these very loose up and down controls, it takes a little bit of getting used to, I'll say that much.
Just a bit.
But hey, once you crack it, it's satisfying as hell, though.
And having this music in the background as well, definitely one of the stronger pieces on the soundtrack. It's a remix of the Invincibility theme from Super Mario Bros. It just sounds so majestic with this sound font they got going on here.
It is. What isn't majestic is I saw the cloud box.
No, you didn't. Look away.
I can't!
These are all the kind of things that back in the day, the way CRT TVs would show the picture on screen, it wouldn't matter at all. And that is one of the things that, like, I've noticed this over recent times. I am the kind of person who I will indulge in retro games far more than a lot of people do, and I start to see the differences between how some games were very much designed with the CRT experience in mind, and that's how when people play these games like nowadays, either through emulation or through like the virtual console kind of systems, you get a very different experience. The pixel art in older games looks very nice when it's sharp like this, but they weren't intending you to see it like that. They were intending you to see it like blurred together and blended together through the way that a CRT would just fire the colours at the screen. It's slightly unfortunate now that that particular part of history isn't preserved as well as the games themselves, but
yeah, every game should come with a CRT.
Yeah, just slip one in the box. Like, I'm in two minds here of, like, on one hand, I wish people could experience these games the way they were intended. On the other hand, it's kind of funny when like Smash Bros. Melee fans get traumatized seeing CRTs getting broken. So, you know, you kind of see both sides of it.
You fucked up, Flame. I wouldn't have it any other way.
So if only we had an editor who could edit around by fuck-ups.
If only. If only.
One thing just to sort of bring up, following sort of all of that with the CRT monitors, is that obviously there are sort of remake games that are being made now that have started to put things like a CRT filter.
It's not the same.
It's not exactly the same, I get, but it is nice that I think certain developers have sort of started to see that there is that quite major difference between how games were seen back in the day and how we sort of have to experience them now. just by virtue of screens. So it's nice that, that they are putting in that effort to try and replicate how it used to look to people rather than how it sort of did perhaps in the pure code element of it.
One thing I will give credit for those CRT filters though is that although I don't really like, the fake scan lines and the fake curvature and that, a lot of them that I've seen do capture the colour grading very well. Like, we're looking at this on, most people watching this are probably looking at this either on their PC monitor or their phone and seeing, the bright saturated colours. Whereas on the CRT, you would see it as, slightly darker reds, slightly darker greens, and it would kind of change the general feel. Now, for Mario, I think both work. Seeing this as a very bright saturated game, it's this colourful world, so you still get that kind of sense of wonder from it. But for other games, I do feel like the alternate colour grading works better for them.
Like Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, Ocarina, it's obviously got a very distinct look that it was going for.
And especially Majora's Mask.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised you didn't bring that one up first, because that's the one that indulged in having this kind of darker but not edgier look that I think it pulled off very well.
And then came the 3DS version.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we only have 4 minutes left of the video, so I'm not gonna let you go on one about that.
Fair enough.
The one thing that I can say about Mario 64's level themes is I see that there's kind of two different approaches. There's the ones that are abstract forms of identifiable areas. This is obviously a grassland.
Yes.
It's an abstracted design of a grassland, but you take one look at this and it's immediately obvious what they're going for. And I feel like these are the stronger levels in the game. There's also ones that maybe Whomp's Fortress, but not to the same degree, but a lot of the ones later on that I feel more lean hard on the abstract, and they're the ones that I don't think pull it off quite so well.
Huh.
There's something that I feel like was a kind of teething issue moving into 3D, because portraying abstract designs on in a 2D game where it's pixel art, that's much easier to pull off. People have years and years of experience looking at illustrations. They can tell what the artist is going for, and they can see what image the artist has in their head very easily. But with 3D, there's always the risk of this kind of uncanny valley effect, because it's similar to what I know, but just a little bit off. For an early 3D game as well, remember, this is the era where people would play early rally racing games, and there would be warnings in the instruction book to say that some people might get motion sickness, just because it's so it felt so real to people at the time that it may be hard to distinguish.
Yeah, be careful, I can't make come out of the screen and run you over.
Well, it was genuinely an experience people might not have had at that point, and it might have felt like they're actually in a car going far too fast.
Truly, it's the first theatre showing, and they think a train is coming at them.
Yeah, it's just the fact that we as people at this time were learning how this kind of experience works, and it just shows you that in this game's not even that old by the bigger picture. It's 25 years old or so. How drastically our entire culture has adapted to this kind of experience now.
Oh, without a doubt.
I think you need to go back a bit further than that, mate. 2024, take away 1996. This game came out 28 years ago.
Well, I am 28 years old, so I am basically close to this.
Wait a minute. Mario 64, the Flaming Claw. Don't know where I'm going with this joke. You fill in the blanks for yourself.
I take credit for everything in this game except the camera.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, no, but Flame, that just means that your birth caused this camera, so, sorry.
Okay, but to be fair, there's just a little bit under a year discretion there. I'm 95, this was 96. Okay, I'm trying to dig my way out of this. The thing that I was doing there, where I'm running around the logs, the tree logs there, just to kind of get coins out of it, that's the sort of thing that you kind of have to just know you can do that, to be fair.
What about if I'm just testing, and I just like running around logs?
Do you just like running around logs, Tom?
I also have the condition that prompts people to gain amusement from running in circles, Tom. It's fine.
Yes.
I was looking it up. That is an actual recognised symptom, which amuses me to no end.
Well, we shan't name the beast, lest it takes over our lives.
Too late for that one.
So, yeah, this has been the first installment of the HSC playthrough of Super Mario 64. Hopefully you haven't been bored to tears by us being all serious and not going bing bing wahoo 24/7. But Flame's done a cracking job with this run. I hope you stick around and check that out. Guess I'll plug the new shorts we've been making. They're little clips of like past playthroughs and whatnot. There's kind of show things off, so hit that up if you want a bit more HFC, and we'll see you next time for the continuation of Super Mario 64. Don't go anywhere, there's plenty more stars to get.